lot of us are thinking about whether or not to travel for Thanksgiving. And so I thought I'd make a little video about what I learned when I was making that decision for myself, deciding whether or not to go see my family for Thanksgiving. Um, and yeah, I think sometimes we think about it as an all or nothing decision. So either we disobey the rules that are saying we should stay home, or we go and pretend like everything is fine and disregard any COVID safety protocols. But of course, there are things in between, things that we can do to keep ourselves safe, our families safe, and all the people that we don't know that we could be coming into contact with who might be more vulnerable to COVID-19 than we are. And so I think if we're choosing to travel, we should think about it from a harm reduction standpoint and think about how we can still see our loved ones, but do so in a way that doesn't put lots of people's lives at risk, including our own. And so obviously the best thing that we can do, I'll kind of go from least dangerous to most dangerous, but the best thing that we could do this Thanksgiving is to stay home. That's personally what I'm planning to do. I live in Wisconsin, and right now we're seeing about 100 deaths per day. So that's 100 people who are losing their lives because of COVID-19. And so when I look at the numbers and I think about traveling to see my family that lives in Texas or in Mexico, I would be traveling from a place that is experiencing a big COVID surge, and I could potentially be taking the virus and infecting some of the people that I love most. So I'm not going to travel, but if I were going to travel, there are other things that I would do. So the first thing that experts suggest, and my sources for this, I've been reading NPR, USA Today, just a lot of news articles, NBC, ABC News, as many news articles as I can about how to do this safely. I think I also read something from the AARP. So that's kind of how I've done my research, is to consult the experts. I'm not an expert by any means. But anyway, the second best thing that you could do is to quarantine completely 2 weeks before traveling. So that means things like getting your groceries delivered, either through a grocery delivery service or having a neighbor help you, and just drop them off outside your front door, and just limiting contact with anybody who's outside your household who's not traveling with you. The other thing that you could do is get a COVID test before you travel. And so if you're planning on traveling this week, if I were you, I would get a COVID test either today or tomorrow so that you can have the results before you leave for your trip. And obviously, if you test positive for COVID, please stay home. And it goes without saying that if you're having any symptoms like fever, a cough, anything where you feel sick, like you might have the flu or a cold, you should definitely stay home and rest and take care of yourself. So once you have cleared those hurdles, let's say you've quarantined as much as possible, you have tested negative for COVID, then you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to get to where I'm going? So I think the safest thing is to go by car and not make very many stops. So when I have traveled, my family and I have packed all our food so that we don't have to stop to eat, and we just go in to the bathroom wearing face masks, washing our hands super carefully, using hand sanitizer, and just running in and out of gas stations to use the bathroom, or rest stops. I know of other people who have, just gone on the side of the road, and so that is also an option. I personally haven't done it, but I know it would be a lot safer. So take that for what it's worth. Then if you are traveling by plane, I know some people will travel by plane. That's the way that they can travel. And I understand that I don't personally know how to drive, so if I were traveling all by myself, it would be harder for me. But if you are traveling by plane, then you want to minimize your time in the airport. So we know that COVID spreads a lot better indoors in places without good air circulation. And airports are not places that have a lot of windows open and fans circulating. Sorry, that's my dog. Um, so you should get to the airport, don't follow the rules we've heard all our lives about getting there as early as possible. Try to get there close to your flight time. Don't take off your mask when you're in the airport. Don't take off your mask when you're on the airplane. And leave the airport as soon as possible when you get to your destination. Another thing that makes airports dangerous is that you have people coming in from all over the country, potentially all over the world. And what we know about the US is that most states are seeing COVID surges. So it's potentially very dangerous. You could be, even if you're coming from one of the very lucky states or cities that's having very, very low COVID numbers, which if you are, like, that's really, really great. And I'm proud of the people of your city and your state for keeping each other safe. But you could be coming into contact with people who are in places like where I am, where it's really dangerous to be around other people right now. So be careful with airports. Then when you get to your destination, so this I think can be the hardest part, but you should really minimize contact between people who are in different households. So instead of just running up and kissing and hugging your grandma, try to keep some distance, see each other outside if you can, wear masks, and you can still spend time together, but spending time 6 to 10 feet apart outside while wearing a mask is absolutely the safest thing to do. If you are going to be indoors, wear a mask as well, and keep the windows open. So you want as much air circulation as possible, just in case somebody does have the virus. And yeah, so windows open, fans on, things like that. I live in a really cold state, so I know that it can be a colder time of year for some of us, but I do think bundling up is a very safe thing to do. Is maybe the very safest thing that you could do if you are going to spend time indoors, is just to have the windows open. Another thing, so experts recommend that if you are going to get together with people, you should keep those gatherings small. So instead of getting together with your whole family, maybe you make a strategy. Maybe the people who live closest together can meet up, and then the other people who live close together can meet up and have a separate Thanksgiving, right? So you could have, let's say you have some family in Texas and some family in Oklahoma, and usually you all get together in Oklahoma. Maybe this is the year where your Texas relatives see each other in Texas, 1 or 2 or 3 households, and in Oklahoma you get together 2 or 3 households. Preferably 2, but I know it's hard to do everything perfectly. Now, if you're getting together for Thanksgiving dinner, let's say you're just getting together for Thanksgiving that day, or even if you're going to be together that week, the safest thing you could do is have Thanksgiving outside. So being spaced out, and you can take off your mask to eat and drink, obviously, but when you're not eating and drinking, if you put your masks back on, that can keep everybody safer. And I have been thinking about this because I love the Charlie Brown holiday movies, and I know in a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, they have Thanksgiving outside. So if you have little kids, you could explain to them, hey, we're going to be outside having Thanksgiving dinner just to be a little bit safer. So we're going to have a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. And I think in that movie they have popcorn, jelly beans, and toast. And so you could add that to your Thanksgiving table just to make it a little more special and not just focused on COVID. So yeah, those are all the things I've learned. Keep your gatherings small, travel as safely as possible, and spend as much time outside as you can, or at least with the windows open. Um, if you maybe you're thinking, okay, what if I get tested for COVID before I leave and when I get there? So that is an option, but COVID has a pretty long incubation period. So that means that you could be infected with COVID and not have it show up on a test um, for for like a week or two. So experts recommend that if you are having COVID tests, you wait at least 5 days since your possible exposure, because that's probably the soonest that it would show a positive result. Okay, so I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and no matter what you do, I hope that you feel very loved this Thanksgiving, and that you focus on the nicest part of this holiday, that we all can focus on the nicest part of this holiday, which is giving thanks. Okay, bye.